Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be a godly man in today's world? With so many competing pressures, it can feel overwhelming. Today, we'll explore practical insights and faith centered strategies to help you thrive as the man God calls you to be.
And trust us, this isn't about setting an impossible standard. It's about walking the path of faith with grace, courage, and purpose. Stick with us. We're in this together.
Welcome to Iron Strengthens Iron, where faith, wellness, and biblical truths unite to help men lead stronger, healthier, and more purposeful lives. I'm Dr. Kevin T. Hattaway, a family physician.
And I'm Dr. Michael E. Hattaway, a clinical psychologist. Today we're talking about what it looks like to be a godly man in modern times. It's a conversation every man should lean into, whether you're a young adult, a husband, a father, or a leader in your community.
Let's start with Micah 6:8. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with your God. This verse gives us a framework for God's values in a man.
It's so practical. It's not a call to perfection, but to action, justice, mercy, and humility. And those values guide us not just in church or on Sundays, but in how we show up at work, home, and in our relationships.
Let's unpack what it means to be a godly man. First, it's about character, integrity, humility, and compassion. These aren't just qualities we aim for, they're reflections of Christ's character in us.
And it's not about being the loudest or the strongest in the room. A godly man leads with kindness and listens with empathy. He admits when he's wrong and doesn't see vulnerability as weakness, but strength.
Exactly. And let's be real, none of us have this figured out. It's a journey of growth, not a destination.
The Bible is full of men who were far from perfect, but lived with faith. Take David. He made huge mistakes, but was a man after God's heart because of his repentance and trust in God.
And then there's Paul. Talk about transformation. He went from persecuting Christians to becoming one of the most influential leaders of the faith. Godly men aren't born, but shaped through their experiences and obedience.
That's encouraging because it reminds us that God can use you no matter where you are in your journey.
One of the challenges today is navigating the conflicting messages about what it means to be a man. Society often tells us to be tough, self-sufficient, and emotionless, but that's not the biblical model.
Exactly. Jesus showed us that strength and compassion go hand in hand. Being a godly man doesn't mean suppressing emotions. It means expressing them in a way that builds others up and glorifies God.
It's freeing, isn't it? We don't have to fit into the world's version of masculinity. God's version is better, and it leads to real fulfillment.
Here's the thing. Vulnerability takes courage. When you're honest about your struggles, you invite others to see God's strength working in you.
And that honesty builds relationships. Whether it's with your spouse, kids, or friends, vulnerability creates connection. It's not about having all the answers. It's about being present and authentic. Let's talk about stress. It's one of the biggest obstacles men face today. Chronic stress impacts everything, your physical health, mental clarity, and spiritual focus.
We often ignore it, thinking we can just push through. But stress isn't something to be ashamed of, it's something to manage. And that starts with recognizing its impact.
Small changes like exercise, better sleep, and even just taking a few deep breaths during the day can make a huge difference. God cares about your whole being, body, mind, and spirit.
Let's address some common myths about masculinity. One big one is that real men never ask for help.
Right? And the truth is, it takes more strength to admit you need help than to act like you've got it all together. Even Jesus surrounded himself with people, his disciples, when he was on earth.
Another myth is that men should always have the answers, but in reality, godly men seek wisdom from others and God. Asking for guidance doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. One of the best tools for growth as a godly man is accountability. Iron strengthens. Iron says, as iron strengthens iron, so one man strengthens another.
It's crucial to have other men in your life who challenge you, encourage you, and keep you grounded in faith.
Accountability isn't about judgment, it's about support. It's having someone who can say, hey, I see where you're struggling, let's work on this together.
And it's mutual. You sharpen each other, which builds trust and strengthens your walk with God. One habit that can transform your mindset as a godly man is gratitude. Taking time to thank God daily for His blessings shifts your focus from what's missing to what's already there.
It's also a great way to combat stress and negativity. Gratitude helps you reframe challenges as opportunities to trust God more deeply.
Start small. Maybe write down 3 things you're grateful for each day. It's a simple practice that can change your perspective and even strengthen your faith.
You know, getting to work on time isn't something you just magically wake up one day and master. It's a process, not some overnight transformation.
Exactly. It's like setting an early alarm. You snooze it a few times, stumble through mornings here and there, but eventually you start figuring out what works for you.
And the best part? Building good habits is like tweaking your routine until it fits just right. Sure, you might oversleep or hit a few traffic jams along the way, but every day is a fresh chance to adjust and improve.
That's the beauty of it. Even when you slip up and end up running late, the real lesson is in learning what went wrong and how to adjust, whether that's prepping breakfast the night before or mapping out a faster route.
Exactly. It's not about perfection. It's about progress. A smooth morning routine doesn't happen overnight, but every effort adds to the bigger picture of starting your day with purpose.
Sure, some days might feel like you're sprinting to make up for lost time, but every small step toward better habits brings you closer to mornings that feel like wins. Let's talk about leadership at home. Being a godly man means leading your family with love and humility.
Right. Ephesians 5:25 reminds us, "Husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." That's servant leadership in action.
Exactly. It's not about control, it's about nurturing and protecting your family spiritually and emotionally.
And this applies to parenting too. Be present, listen actively, and model the faith you want your children to see. Proverbs 18:21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death. As godly men, our words carry weight."
That's so true. Whether it's encouraging a friend, affirming your spouse, or guiding your kids, your words can build up or tear down.
Take time to think before you speak. Ask yourself, are my words reflecting God's love and truth?
Friendship isn't often discussed in the context of being a godly man, but it's essential.
Absolutely. Ecclesiastes 4:9-10 says, "Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up."
Godly friendships challenge you to grow, hold you accountable, and provide support when life gets tough.
So invest in those relationships, make time for them, and don't be afraid to go deep. You know, being a godly man doesn't mean you won't mess up.
Oh, absolutely. I've had plenty of moments where I thought I had it all together, only to realize I didn't even have the instructions. It's like trying to assemble a shelf without the manual.
And God's like, "Let me help you with that." It's comforting to know we don't have to figure it all out alone. Failure is inevitable, but how you respond to it defines your character.
Proverbs 24:16 says, "Though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." God doesn't expect perfection, He expects perseverance.
When you fail, lean into God's grace. Use it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and come back stronger.
One of the hallmarks of a godly man is a heart for serving others.
Jesus modeled this when he washed the disciples' feet. In John 13:14, he said, "Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's feet."
Service isn't about recognition, it's about meeting needs. Whether helping a neighbor, volunteering at church, or simply listening to someone, small acts of service make a big impact.
In today's noisy world, solitude is a discipline we often overlook, but even Jesus retreated to pray and reconnect with the Father.
Solitude helps us realign with God's purpose. It's not just about being alone, it's about being present with God.
Try setting aside even 10 minutes daily to unplug and sit in God's presence. You'll be amazed at the clarity and peace it brings.
A godly man also honors God with his resources, time, money, and talents.
Right? It's about recognizing that everything we have is a gift from God and using it wisely to serve Him and others.
This might mean budgeting your finances, volunteering your time, or using your skills to bless others. Stewardship is about faithfulness.
Let's face it, living out your faith isn't always easy, especially when you're under pressure.
Think of Daniel in the lion's den. He stayed faithful, even when the stakes were life or death.
When you're facing challenges, trust in God's sovereignty. Pray for strength and wisdom, and remember that He's with you in every trial. Encouragement, progress over perfection. God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for your heart. Celebrate the small victories and don't let failure keep you from moving forward. God's grace covers it all.
Exactly. Every step you take toward being the man God calls you to be is a step worth celebrating.
Today, we explored the traits of a godly man, the power of mentorship, the importance of spiritual habits, and strategies to overcome modern challenges. Next week, we'll explore Break Free from Generational Curses, Essential Insights. You won't want to miss it.
As we conclude this episode of Iron Strengthens Iron, we want to remind you that the insights and challenges shared here are meant for educational and motivational purposes. They are not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or pastoral advice. If you're facing challenges that require personalized care, we encourage you to seek the guidance of a qualified professional in your area.
Thank you for joining us on this faith, strength, and brotherhood journey. We hope today's message inspires you to embrace your vulnerabilities, rise with resilience, and strengthen the bonds that uplift you.
Remember, you are not alone in this journey. Together, we grow stronger. Subscribe to the podcast and share this episode with someone who needs encouragement today. For more inspiration and insight, visit our YouTube channel at Iron Strengthens Iron.
Until next time, keep strengthening, stay resilient, and remember, as iron strengthens iron, one man strengthens another.